If you haven't had a chance, there's spice cider, cookies, and cheese platter up here. Please help yourself and eat heartily. The spice cider is particularly good. I would like to say I made it myself, but I didn't. My wife made it. But it is awfully, awfully good. Welcome to our December demo / Christmas party for the Booth Artist Guild. And it is absolutely wonderful to see everybody here and to see we're almost standing room only. Well, actually, I'll probably stand. But it is so good because it's such a wonderful, wonderful time of the year. We have, as the Artist Guild, have been incredibly blessed with not only just having a good year, but having great, wonderful support from the Booth Western Art Museum, from the Art Academy, the Booth Art Academy with Kent and with Kathy. The support that we get to have this is absolutely amazing, that we get wonderful people like Susan here to do a demo for us tonight. And I'll talk a little bit more about her in a minute. But it's just, I cannot think of, in the season of being blessed with whatever holiday tradition you follow, we are incredibly blessed to be here. And I'm grateful. Unfortunately, there's one person I'd love to see here tonight, and that's Palma Rhodes. And Palma's at home convalescing from some back surgery, but I think she's going to be looking at me right now and say, why are you talking about that? But we miss you, Palma, and come on in.
I saved your seat to everybody. Come on in.
And we got some chairs. If y'all can take a couple of chairs down in the back there. Somebody.
We're gonna sit up here. Let's take this one. I'm so sorry. We forgot about the time change.
That's quite all right. Is this something in Mississippi, friend? Well, I've got a real dear friend that lives in Mississippi, and I understand. I'll leave it at that. But it's sad that we don't have Palma with us here in person, but she is with us on Zoom. And I know that she would like for me to express a happy and blessed holiday to each and every one of you. A few announcements to go over is that, of course, remember, there is no meeting in January. We take January and July off. February is the next meeting, and it will be over in the museum in the Bergman Theater. We're moving over there to Thursday evenings, and it's sorry, what's Thursday?
Second Thursday.
Second Thursday, and it's going to be great because we'll have better audio visual capabilities, and what we'll have is, instead of just zooming so the people who can't make it tonight can see it, we'll have enough cameras so that there'll be a camera on the demo, there'll be a camera on the person, hopefully one on the palette. There'll be a large screen so we can look at it as well. And so it's just upping our game even that much more. And another blessing we're getting from the museum. So remember that, no meeting in January, next one's in February, the second Thursday of February. I want to remind everybody that the submissions for the Winter Spring exhibition is coming up real soon. It's starting December 7th, 2 days. And for 3 weeks, you can enter up to 2 pieces of art. And it'll be from December 7th to the 28th. And it should be, if it's anything like the current exhibition, it'll be amazing. We've had a wonderful turnout, both in the Art Guild and the Photography Guild did extremely well, I believe, Pat, they did. And so it's been a very good showing, and I would love to see more and more people submitting the work. And as each exhibit comes along, I think the quality, we're encouraging each other to do even better. And that's amazing, that's wonderful. At the end of the meeting, as I mentioned, we're having a drawing. We got 3 door prizes here. If you haven't filled out a slip, please do pretty quick, because we have 3 wonderful gifts. We have, first of all, is a painting that's been donated by Amanda Lovett. We have a gift card from the Gambling Company. I don't know how much. It's sealed. It won't fit in my back pocket, so it's still up for grabs. And a brush set that Susan Patton, this is one of her brush sets that is from Rosemary and Company, and this will fit in my back pocket. So we're having two wonderful door prizes at the drawing. So be sure to fill out a slip. That'll be after because we don't want you to jump up and run out, because we want you to listen to everything Susan has to offer tonight. Because it's going to be great. Susan Patton is our guest tonight, and she will be doing a demo on
It's gonna be a video demo.
a video
It's,
demo.
Also presentation on capturing the light in your paintings.
Okay, that's great. We all can do a little bit more on that and learn a little bit more. I went through her bio on her website. Now, first of all, she's from northern Mississippi, and there's nothing like a good Mississippi girl. You don't mind me calling you a girl, do you?
That's no problem at all.
She's a good Mississippi woman. And a good Southern person with a lot of charm, and it just comes through in her website. But she talks about her journey becoming an artist. She was a physical therapist and decided that she wanted to take up art because she felt God had called her to do that. She's the daughter of a wonderful artist. Her mother, Dot Corson, is a great, look her up as well. She's a wonderful artist. But she decided that she wanted to become an artist. And as she said, God had gifted her with a huge dose of willingness to learn and a little smidgen of talent. And using that, she started that journey of learning, continually learning to improve on that little bit of talent. And I think we all can relate that to some point, that we all start off with just a little bit of talent. And through a learning process, we get to become better with each opportunity. Tonight is going to be a great opportunity. So tonight I present Susan Patton. No, I gotta use this right here.
Yeah.
And I think I did fail to mention,
They're not.
Susan has our class that's starting.
Microphones aren't working.
Kathy, did we figure out if there's still one spot?
Yes, we have one spot available for class tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow. And there's gonna be another class and,
Yeah, the one on tomorrow is 3 days and it's on features of the face.
okay,
And then there's another in September on loosen up.
oh, we could all loosen up a little, well, I could.
Those. Okay, Mike, I might have messed up from the go. It's going again. Yeah, excuse me a second, I'll keep this going and so we can.
We had it going.
Well,
before
that's
the
okay.
meeting.
Yeah. Let's try it again. Let's start over. There we go. I wanna watch a movie. Which one? No, do not restart that. That's probably, I think I have yes. Okay, then maybe the job is there.
There we go.
There it is.
You got it.
Good deal. Okay. All right, well, thank you for that. I'm sorry about that, but my name is Susan Patton and I am from Mississippi. So I have been painting about 15 years, but full time I've been about 5 years. How many of you know my mother, Dot Pearson? Look her up. It's DOTCOURSON. And send her DOT, like Dot is Dorothy, but short for Dorothy Dot. Corson, COURSON. COURSON. Send her email and just say hi to her, but she's a wonderful artist. I've been a physical therapist for about 25 years now. But about 15 years ago, I love my church. I love missions. It's that is my first love. And we were having a silent auction and I didn't know I could paint, but I knew my mom was painting. And so I went to Walmart. I got me a canvas and some of the little paint, and some brushes, and I traced a Mississippi State helmet. Y'all all can leave, y'all don't wanna walk down there. So I traced a Mississippi State helmet and I painted it. And it turned out good because I could see color. And I was fascinated with that. I couldn't draw yet, so that's why I had to trace it. Eventually I was able to draw, but my mom saw that I was interested in, and so she stopped taking workshops and she started holding workshops so that we could both go to it. And she started with John Potoshnik and Roger Dale Brown and Dawn Whitelaw. And I mean, that was my art school, you know, I mean, it was just, what can you say that thank you God for that? That was just really, really awesome. And so that was about 15 years ago, I guess. And so time went on and, you know, family and all that kind of stuff. And I was painting in my dining room, and one day I came home and my husband had replaced the chandelier with that light I'd been saying I needed, you know, and the table was moved even. How about that? You know, I was like, wow, you know, and so that was just kind of the little boost I needed at the time. So I started painting out of my dining room. And then I moved to my garage because it's north face garage. And so I painted out there. And then one day I was like, Jeff, I'd really like to have a studio, you know, and he's like, I mean, y'all, we were, you know, like I had about stopped working by that point and all that, trying to paint. It was not the time to be asking for a studio, but God provided that too. And now I have, a 750 square foot studio with a front porch and studio lights, gallery lights, and an office with shelves that we both built together and for my canvases. And I'm telling you, you know, I'm just thankful. I'm thankful. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm telling you because I'm like, what? You know, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. But I am very, very grateful for it. And I was here maybe, I don't know, several years ago, and I'm like, I'd like to teach a booth sometime, you know, and I'm so thankful that it happened. And then this was the night before I was going to teach. And so thankful that y'all let me do. So I want us to have a conversation because y'all are artists. Okay. I'm not talking to just a group of people who don't know about art. I want to have a conversation with you about capture the light. I paint in oils mostly, but this should apply to all mediums. Okay. First thing I want to talk about is designing with light and shadow. Design is something that I'm passionate about. Is designing. I think that's something that when you first start painting, you don't think about because you're trying to learn how to handle the brush and the paint and things like that. But eventually, if you've been painting for a while, pour some time into design. Let's talk about designing with light and shadow. You can ask yourself, is this painting going to be about color or contrast? That's one way to think about it. Another way to say it is, how important is contrast in this painting? Is it mostly about the light and dark patterns, or is it not? It may be tonal, where there, if you put it in black and white, it might look like all one color because it's more of a tonal. So is it high contrast or no contrast in it at all? Okay, start identifying that. And then when you get ready to paint something, ask yourself, does this need to be high contrast or more tonal? Here's the point. If it is high contrast, your design is based on the lights and the darks in the painting. Your design is no longer about the object of the painting. It's no longer about the kid that you're painting. It's about the light and shadow pattern on them. If it's real strong like this, you can make a no-tan out of this real easily. Do y'all know what a no-tan is? Mm-hmm. Really? That is awesome. Yay. Usually I say that and people's like, they do this. That's awesome. Several people know what a no-tan is. No-tan means there's no tan, right? It's just black and white. So if you was to turn this into only black and only white, the light parts would be white, the dark parts would be black, and you would end up with kind of the, I don't know, those designs that you can make. I don't know, there's a name for that.
Rorschach, yeah.
Okay. You'll have to write that down for me later. But you can imagine what design that light would make inside that dark. That is the design of the painting now, you see? And yes, this is about who this is, but it's more about the design. It's more about this shape, and this shape at the light inside of that dark. At least that's what you see from across the room, right? And then when you come up close to it, then you can appreciate the details in it. Okay. Here is another one. When people first observe this painting, they are thinking about not this person's features and who this is, like, oh, that's my cousin. No, you know, that's not that. It's about the light and dark pattern here. So in other words, I think it was Dawn Whitelaw told me, if it's a strong pattern of light and shadow, your painting is no longer about the subject anymore. It's about the light and shadow. So I thought that was very interesting. So let's take this, for example. I was commissioned to paint this little boy, and he came to my mother's studio and I took pictures of him. And so guess which one of these two I was drawn to? Guess which one the parent was drawn to? Okay. Why? Because this one is more about the painter wants to paint this because it's about the light and shadow, and the parent wants it to be about the kid. Okay. And so I painted it. And this is my painting of him. And it says, if you don't have strong shadows, that's, by the way, this is a close-up of the face. I did the whole thing, the whole scene. But if you don't have strong shadows, you will have to rely on subtle temperature changes in order to show the plane changes or the form changes. You'll have to rely on temperature changes and not value, because you don't have a lot of value in that. I mean, his eyes are not deep set, right? There's not a strong light shadow pattern. So how in the world do you show the plane changes? What I did, and I don't think I have it on here, no. I took the photograph and I drew the planes of the face with a pencil on top of that picture. And then I had this picture of him with all these planes on it. And I would look at each one of those that I drew and ask myself, what is the temperature, like warm, cool, compared to this thing that's next to it? Can you see if I can zoom in there, the different colors within that? Okay. Something else I learned from painting him here, and the color's a little different than it is on my phone, you see. But something else I learned from painting him is, did you know, if you're doing portraits, I'm gonna jump all over the page, by the way, a little bit here, because as it comes to me, I'm just gonna say, but as you're painting portraits, in order to get lighter, sometimes you don't want to make it chalky, right? Add cool notes like blue, and I don't mean blue, but tint that skin a little bluer. And if it's Caucasian skin, and it will look, even if it's the same value, it'll look lighter. Okay, so that's just a little, throw that out there for you, instead of just adding white.
Do you find yourself in that situation a lot with clients where you kind of go back and forth between the photos?
Well, I always let them do it, let them have the choice, for sure, but I only show them the choices that I want. Okay. Yes, and by the way, video it. Don't take pictures, video. Then you can punch pause and just slide, and then, because those kids are moving all over the place, and you can slide it till you get exactly where you want it. And that way you don't have to have that exact perfect picture. So, so this is a recent, this may be.
I have a question about what you just said.
Yes.
About the cool colors getting lighter.
Yeah.
It sounds intuitive to me. Because I've always learned that warm colors come forward and cool colors.
That's right, in an atmosphere outside in a landscape. Because the coolness of the landscape in the distance is because of the humidity that you see in the air. And that's why it gets cooler as it gets further away. And also your eye loses the yellow first. Am I saying that right, y'all?
Yes.
Okay, your eye loses the yellow first, so things will get bluer as it recedes. But in a skin tone, if you're just looking at someone up close, a lot of times, the highlight on the skin will be because the light is adding a cool note to that skin, even if this is not perfectly, cool light, but it's adding a cool note. You can't tell when I say I'm just like wipes it, like, I don't know, a child's face, it's similar, and so that light has that coolness and on the highlights, so the highlight will be cool because it's reflecting whatever that's coming at you. So just try it. It blew my mind though, because I had that painting pretty much done and I was like, it's not lifelike, something's not right, and I started adding those cool highlights and it just absolutely came to life. And it may be partly because the warm, cool one, you need that and just everything back. I don't know if I'll be able to play this from that link. Okay. Bear with me. Okay, so this is. This is a recent painting of mine of a potter. Okay, so that is a recent painting that I did of this potter that I saw in Tupelo. Let me get back to where I was. I saw this long hair guy, beard, white t-shirt, making this pottery. He was barefoot and all these little children around him. And I was like, huh. It's like, reminded me of the pictures, that you see of Christ. And so I actually introduced myself to him, and he was what? Hippie. I'm telling you, a hippie, like barefoot hippie, and he was awesome. I was like, his name's Hal, and I said, Hal, I would like to paint your picture. He said, right on. And I was like, okay then. Okay then. And so I told him, I said, well, you know who you're gonna represent, don't you? And he's like, I've been told that. So he came to my studio and he drove down the driveway in his white old pickup truck. And I guess he went to Lowe's because he built him a canopy on the back and he sleeps there part of the time. Well, he's got his surfboard up in there. He's still barefoot, but he drives like all over the place and he'll just surf and get back in his truck and just, he's awesome though, but he's got a master's degree in pottery. A smart guy. I mean, smart guy. His mom and dad were just like really, society people, y'all know. And so he's a great guy. He's just a hippie, So anyway, he came to my studio and there he is. And so there's your thing. So I took lots and lots of pictures and video of him, and this is one I was fascinated with the design in it, the lights and the darks. And so I grabbed a square canvas. Susan, yeah. I grabbed a square canvas and said, well, let me just see what it looked like if, and so I just quickly did the design of that based on the Notan, right? But I added some color, and it had, it just has this X of the dark running through it, but your eye can kind of swing around through it. And I just loved how the connections of the dark, I just liked it. And so I'm like, man, I just liked the painting itself after I got done with it. It's unusual for me, but I liked it. So I framed it, and it's been one of my more popular pieces. People just loved it. And so that was a study for the big painting that I did. But the point of me showing you all of that is to say, design with light and shadow, or with the darks and the lights, is
Yeah.
based on the no-tan.
Your studies, do you always do them loosely like this, or do you ever do a more detailed study?
Both, I will start out with, sometimes a composition study, where it's like an 8x10 composition of the painting that I'm gonna do, same proportion, wise, just to get an idea of where the person will be on the canvas before I do the bigger one. But I have learned it is not an option anymore to do a study of, like, I'm painting it for the person first and then do it again. It's just not an option to not do it again. That first one, I have learned, is about 25% as good as the next. The next one is gonna be so much better than that one, when I've worked out all those problems, and so it's just not an option anymore. I'm working on one now that I've got to have this thing done. Let me just tell y'all, because y'all know me. We got to have this thing done. Y'all talk in Southern here. Yeah. Okay.
You have no accent.
Okay, let's check. But I've got to have this done the first week of January. What's today? You know what I'm saying? Like, I had started the real pain, you know what I'm saying? But it is no option to not do the study. It's just gonna be revealed, and I'm gonna be like, do not touch. So, yeah, okay, again, this is one of sergeants, or both are sergeants. Look at the difference between, this is based on the light and the shadow, and this one is not based on the light shadow. This just may not be something that you have thought, or you probably thought about it, but never intentionally ask yourself, how much is this based on light and shadow, this painting that I'm fixing to paint?
That one on the right is a good example at the top of her cheek of where you mentioned add blue into the light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see
You can
that, you'll
see it.
see that
Mhm.
in different places. Yeah. And even in here, it's
Yeah.
cooler, that color is cooler than that, but if you squint and look, it's
Yeah.
not a lot different. If you would have tried to add white to it, it would have turned out this chalky pink,
Yeah.
so, when you study drawing and painting and turning forms, you can turn that form with temperature, y'all know that, you can turn it with temperature. And the reason is, because if a warm light is hitting something, and then that warm light is not hitting it as much, it's going to be cooler. And your mind says, well, that just got cooler, so that must be it's away from that warm light. So, and vice versa, like we talked, that's another subject. But this is a recent painting that I did. I set up still life in my studio. And I wanted to show you, as I'm trying to decide how the light, we're talking about designing the light and shadow. I wanted you to see how I was thinking about that as I was setting up my still life. Can you see that? This one basically does not have a light and shadow pattern that's interesting. You get some shadows here, but otherwise it's just kind of all over the place. This one is more intentional. You've got this side in shadow a little bit here, and then you've got this light that comes across the painting that way. And so the light comes in here and it travels. I guess it's a good word for it. Does the light need to travel across it, so that you can, it was just a better design. It allows your brain to see depth better that way. What do y'all have any comments on designing with light and shadow in that way? Setting up the still lifes and playing with how the shadows are?
How do you set up your still life? Can you talk about your setup?
Okay, I have a table like this one. And then I have one of those from Walmart that is a black table that's smaller. Oh, there we go. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay. Somebody have this. Okay, so, but the little black table from Walmart is like this big. Okay, we're talking about for there. It's there. You can set it up to a height about like this or a regular height. Well, I put it on the shorter height, and I put that one on top of this. And then I have a black trifold thing that I put as my background. And then I've got some pieces of cardboard that's left over from my frame boxes that we spray painted, kind of a matte silver. And so I have that warm on one side, cool on the other side from the cardboard as a backdrop, if, you know, to decide that. So I can place those in there. Then I've got a couple of different lights. One is a warm light. I think it was a spotlight from Walmart again with one of those things that guys use when they what is that little spot?
Work light.
Y'all know what I'm
Yes,
talking
it's
about.
a
Shop lights, so shop lights like that. And then I've got the more expensive actual artist light. I don't have the name. Do y'all remember the name of that one? That's the round. You can change the warm.
Method light?
Is what now?
Is it the method light? You can change the temperature.
You can change the temperature and the intensity of it, and it's on a stand. I learned about it at Michael Chanel's workshop. It's what he uses. That either way, I have either one of those. The thing about it, it's more diffused, it's not as direct. And so you can think about how much of a direct shadow and a cutoff between your light and shadow. And on this one, I wanted more of a cutoff between my light and shadow. If you put that diffused one on there, it's just kind of like a pretty light. It's better for maybe a child's portrait, you know, where you don't want heavy shadows. So, let's see. I was telling you about the setup. And sometimes I'll put another piece on top to block the light. My studio now is, I have 3 sliding glass doors that face north on the north side with some transoms above it so that north light can come in. And so I try to use that on the still life when I can. Or maybe at least add to. Now, you know, we could get into a lot more of that, but that's the basic setup. I also bought one of those not carts, but the, it's another tool thing from Home Depot. Yes, a Craftsman. It's on wheels where you can run. It's got the top to it, the drawers. It's like a game where I can just tell you. And y'all can fill in the blanks. But it's like the, what do you call it?
Rolling tool chest, you mean?
It's, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
It just has 2 drawers and, you know.
Is it a husky?
Yes.
Yes.
It is.
I
And
just
so you-
don't know.
yeah, okay. And you can put, see, it's fun. But you can put your paints in the drawers. It's so cool. And then it's on casters, so you can roll it around. Well, sometimes I use that for my still lives too, because you can turn this crank thing and it can go up or down, and then it depends on how much, you know.
Is that what you?
That's perfect. Exactly what I'm talking about. I'll show that to you. Yeah, if I start talking about it, I'll do it again. Okay, so I mentioned Michael Chanel. Y'all familiar with him? Okay. He's a portrait artist from Nashville. Don taught him, Don Whitelaw. He also studied with Everett Roman Kinsler. He's the head of the Portrait Society now, Chanel. So, he painted, he painted Kinsler, yes. So either way, I was taking a workshop with him, and so I took this photo of him talking to his secretary here in his office. And so I'm sitting there, and what do you think I was drawn to? Do you see the contrast of that light and the patterns of the light? I just, in the high contrast, I was drawn to the high contrast. So I did this black and white painting as a study. And do you see what I changed? Some of the things I changed in that study versus the actual picture. What do you see that's not there?
Vertical white line down to his head.
This one. Yeah. That's gone. Because look at that, when you would, you know, keep that in there or you cover it up. All of a sudden, this becomes, and y'all can stand up and move around if you need to. Here we go. Also, this chair, took that out, you know, there's even a highlight on that chair. Or if we were sticklers, we'd get in there and paint that chair and paint that highlight on that chair, you know, but it's not needed. So I'm looking at the light and dark patterns for that. I don't know, I don't guess I even brought the final painting, but either way, that's the point. This is a painting I did of my stepmother and her little dog. And so you could say, you know, is this about the way the light is hitting her, or is it about the color? I'd have a hard time saying on this one. I love to study this painting up close for the color that I put in it, but yet the light is hitting her face is in shadow, you know, the light's hitting the side of her. So I like that too. So to me, this one, I go back and forth. I don't know if I would say this to me is about color or contrast. In person, the color's a little more vibrant. But we were talking about pet portraits as part of this. I'm going to show a demo here in just a second. And this one, let's see if I've got it close up now. Can you see all the little brush strokes in the color in there? That's what's important when painting pets, is to look for temperature. If you're going to paint pets, you're going to have to know how to look for temperature changes, because a lot of times on them, that's where you're going to have the least amount of contrast is on these animals. And you can't rely on just what color is it. Well, Kinsler never said temperature. He always said color value. He always wanted you to say color value. So there's this thing of, well, it's still a color and color value. But it clicks with me when I say temperature, because I think cool, and it just helps me to go to that part of my palette. Okay. Questions on that? Like her hair is white, but it's not, you know. It's not white.
Susan, one thing I noticed in your paintings, because I've seen them in person too, and you can see it some here, you do little facets of color with your brush.
And a lot of times I'll do this way or this way, just naturally. That's just something
And
that
then
I
they blend together with your eye, but when you see them, they're actual little.
Yes, and then I'm
Yes.
teaching that workshop here, Loosen Up, in September. That's a big part of what we're gonna be talking about is not always having a soft edge there. You can have a hard edge there, but if you have the same value but different temperature, you can have a hard edge there, but if the value is the same, it's gonna read soft. Because what you said, your eye doesn't cut that apart. It blends, like you say, it blends together too. But look at her little outfit she's wearing, you know, like. All of these are broken brush strokes, you know, in there. But yet from a distance, it's all one value. Boy, I walked through the Booth museum today. That's what fascinated me, would be half the painting would be in the same dark value, but it's all different shades of color there. And you know what I'm talking about? There's some that I'm thinking about this particular one. I wish I'd have looked at the artist, but has that bright sunset, and then the front has the horse and the.
Jim Reynolds.
Okay.
It's everybody's favorite.
Yeah, okay. I'm like. What? Like, would I be that bold, you know, to do something like that? So these are some turnips, actually, they're turnips. Looks a little harsh on there. They're a little bit softer, you know, in person. But my uncle grows turnips in my front yard, and like front yard, but on out from my front yard is the little patches of turnips. And I saw the little purple sticking up from that patch one day, and I'm like, that color up under that ground, that's got to be painted, you know. So I ended up painting these turnips. But would you say this painting is about color or contrast?
I would say it's about color.
I would too, because there's not a real strong contrast. So in something like that, you might not need a whole lot of contrast. So just because you have a main subject doesn't mean that your value between it and what's next to it needs to be extreme to show it. Sometimes you can show it without a huge value change. So, and that's the, you know, that's the case in here. There's not like a stark dark and light. Now there is some dark and light next to each other that will point you to, but in this case, you'll use lines and colors and shapes as your interest. In this case, it's a lot of line as your interest. All those lines are pointing you to that main turnip. This line's pointing at this and this and this and all these. These are faced toward this one and these are faced toward this one. And so, and the spacing of them, is different, you know, so there's design elements. I do a whole workshop on design as well. But the subtlety of the color changes is what you'll have to rely on, when it's not about value changes. All right, atmosphere. Okay. Y'all love this one. You gonna love this one. You heard it a million times. Velcro ping pong balls. Remember that? Yep. Light bounces and carries color with it, like a ping pong ball that's got Velcro on it. So it might bounce on off of Mike's red shirt and then come over here to yours and land a little bit of color from yours, pick up some of that and bounce on the table, carrying some of that color with it. And that's when you paint, if you'll remember that the atmosphere is going to be created by carrying your colors all over your painting. So if you put a little of the red in his shirt, don't only put that red in that shirt, make sure that you put it in other places in the painting as well. That's going to create the atmosphere. This is the painting that we were talking about. Who was it? You and I were talking about it. This is my grandmother. And the name of this painting is Still Stirring at 93. I'm working on one now that's still stirring at 98. And this time she's at the stove and she's a little more slouched over and she's stirring tomatoes in a tin, aluminum, one of the big aluminum wash tubs, you know, and she's stirring it because they're canning tomatoes. And my uncle is in the background getting the jars ready. So now that she's 98, you see, she's got that extra help in the picture. And where she was 93, she didn't have the extra help. She's in the same bar stool at the same spot and she's stirring the tomatoes. And so the only thing is y'all messed it up because, and I had to put it aside because I told her I was painting her picture and she said, make me pretty. And then I look at my paint and I'm like, you know, she's not gonna like it, even though I think she's beautiful. You know, it's not her younger self that she wants probably painted, but I'll get there. But this one, would you say is about color or contrast? It's contrast. Even though it's about contrast, it can have color in it, right? See her face, there's hardly anything there. And then, but her little hand has got the little nodules on their hand from arthritis, you know, and that's chicken gravy, about it. Chicken gravy. We know what that is. You knew what it was.
Country fried steak.
And then the aluminum pan in the back, you know, and then the gas light on the stove. And then this is, y'all know what this is, that keeps water in there, so she pour it in there. Fill it up, so she doesn't have to go to the sink every time. But you're gonna see me painting more stuff like this because this is my heart. And after I went to the Booth Museum and saw that show, I'm like, I have those stories around me that I want to tell, you know? And so.
Are you talking about the Heidi Priestley?
Yes. Y'all. In my class that we are doing this week on painting features of the face, we're gonna go to the museum as part of the class and sketch. So I wanted to go ahead of time and look. And that sketchbook of hers, goodness, super inspiring. Okay, so came to the end of it now. This is going to be the demo by video, and this is where I painted a dog. It's some of y'all may recognize this. Let's see. Let's see. Try again. It didn't work this way. I can play it a different way.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do it the other way. Okay, let me just see if I can get it playing, then I'll flip it. Down, so you can ask questions, but do you want your lights off? You could, and I could pause it as we go to.
Is that better or?
No.
No? Okay, on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am working by photo, of course, and I have, I think it's maybe a 14, 18 or something like that, panel that I have put a thin, transparent layer of probably a, transoxide brown by Rembrandt, something like that, or either a transoxide red with some ultramarine blue added to it. Kind of makes the same transoxide brown. So if you just have transoxide red, do y'all use that Rembrandt transparent oxide red? If you only have that and you're like it's too red, just add just a little bit of blue, that ultramarine in it, and it's more like a transparent oxide brown. So that I was using straight oils and solvents at the time. I'm not using solvents anymore. Now I'm using water-based paint. We talked about that later, but with the solvent, I made that thin and put it on there. And then again, with the solvent, took paper towel and dipped it so I could wipe out and make, y'all do that sometimes?
Yeah.
Wipe out where the lights are. So I was able to draw the dog with that. So what's going to be important in this painting, and you'll see it as we go along, this has a very strong light on the top of this dog. And right now I am, I'm going to fill in the doors. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go back here and show you what the end result is so that you can see. So you see how strong the light is? There he is. Whoa, there we go. So it's going to have a very, very strong light. But what's going to be important for me is, there's a lot going on in this painting. And I think I've zoomed in a little bit on it. This is the exact composition of it. But, there's a lot going on. Pebbles was laying on a very colorful floor. But what was interesting to me wasn't the colors in it. What was interesting was the light that was on him. So I was designing now by light and shadow. What is going to be important here? It's going to be important to hold the values together. So your darks need to be held together. They don't need to be broken up. It's very important. Your value masses, when you have a painting like this, to hold them together. All right. This is a real quick video. It's only like 5 minutes.
And by the term holding together, do you mean keeping them close in value?
And not breaking up that value mass, right?
I've got a question. I noticed you have a, looks like an iPad for your reference.
Yes.
And there's some kind of film over it. Is that press and seal or is that, it didn't look like saran wrap?
I think it was saran wrap.
Was it? Okay.
So, yeah, I don't normally do that. I noticed that too, and I was like,
Oh, okay.
I don't normally do that, but Okay. What have you noticed so far?
Put your darks in.
You don't always have to start with your darks, so, but the reason people do is because if it needs to stay dark and transparent and the darkest thing on your canvas, then they might not want to lay that on top of something that's lighter, and so they'll start with the darks. But if you paint roses, a lot of times you can put your lights in first and then bring your color into that and mix it into it. It makes it so soft and subtle. So you don't always have to start with your darks. But what else have you noticed?
The temperature change.
It was. I'm working all over the canvas. I'm not gonna finish one spot before I move to something else.
It's interesting how some people do and some people don't, you know, you'll
Yeah.
see some artists that'll work on tiny sections.
Right.
And then come forward.
The reason that I do is this, because I am choosing colors. And I will not know what color to choose unless it is in relation to another color around it. And so in value and in temperature. Painting is a lot like, I'm not a sculptor, but I think about sculpting a lot when I paint, and the first stage is I call throwing mud. And it's basically putting some stuff up there that you can base what you're gonna do on. Okay. Any other comments to this point? Like if I was up here doing that, would you have questions at this point?
Are you working with a limited palette?
I am, and I did my color circle thing on that. Are y'all familiar with that? By the way. You wanna pause? Thank you. The stickers, the round stickers. So she's gonna pass these color stickers, color wheel stickers out. That is a way that I sometimes pre-mix my paint with just 3 primaries. And it, I don't even have a warm and cool of each, just 1 red, 1 yellow, 1 blue. I've actually got a video of that too. If y'all want to watch that, you can watch that as well. But I have done that with this dog. I chose the colors. I'll pull a separate canvas out, mix a red and a blue, just a little bit of it, and put it up there and see if that's the red I want to use, that kind of thing. And then I do the circle thing. So I choose my colors first.
I mean, I think it's great with this one, especially with the busy carpet, because if you're limiting your palette and playing with value, like you're saying,
that
a
crazy?
lot of that busyness
Yeah.
can become unified through that simpler palette.
Isn't that the truth?
And is that how you do your palette? You put 2
Yes.
reds, 2 blues, 2 yellows,
That's your cheat sheet.
and then you mix.
I'm gonna show you that.
In a circle.
You do, but you don't start at 1 and go all the way around. It's a little bit different than that.
Okay.
So I'll show you, but you put red across from red, yellow across from yellow, blue across from blue. It's the same red, it's the same yellow, it's the same blue. And depending on what color you use, you'll end up with total different round choices. But it's amazing at the color that will come out of that, you know, and it's really cool if you a beginner painter with that and you're not used to mixing color. And if you spend too much time trying to get that color mixed right, you can just look down and pick like you're picking a paint swatch from that circle that you've got of the mixed colors. So I'll show you that.
Yeah, it makes no difference what red, yellow, or blue.
Right, and you get
just pick
your,
red, yellow, or blue.
you can pick a red, any yellow, any blue. You see, it doesn't make just all bright colors. It makes, that's what I love about it is the dark, not the darks, but the grays and the neutrals. The muddy colors that are so beautiful, that look so good. With other colors.
I took a workshop here at the booth with Greg Beecham, who's a national wildlife painter. And we each could choose only 3 colors, you know, red, blue, and yellow, and it could be any red, blue, or yellow you wanted.
Okay.
And it is amazing. Like I chose
And I saw
3
you-
that I hardly ever paint
Yeah.
with. I did cerulean, a red that I never use, and a different yellow. And it's surprising at the colors you can get from
It's
just those
amazing.
3.
It's amazing. Lord wills, I would love to put together a book on that color circle and have like a page for like different
Different
ones,
ones.
like different ones that I choose in paintings that I did with that.
Mhm.
So that, you know, you could flip through it almost and go, okay, I'm gonna do that color wheel, so.
Yeah.
Do one
Look
like
for that in
John,
10 years.
do one like John Potocnik's book. Have you seen
Yes,
his?
I have.
you've seen
He
his book.
actually, that was birthed at a workshop at my mom's house. When
Okay,
he came to my mom's, he did that for our class. He did all of those paintings because he was coming to that workshop and he was gonna teach about the colors. And we were all like, you've got to do a book. And then there he goes with the DVD, you know, I'm not saying we told him to, but I am saying that it was birthed out of that
okay.
workshop.
Who were you talking about?
John Potocnik and the colors.
Do
Yeah.
you choose different red, yellows, or blues depending upon your subject?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the one that is most important to pick is the one that is the primary one in the painting. I did a painting of a little girl in a pink dress, and a lot of people loved that one. And the pink dress, it was a 30 by 30 painting. Pink dress was like in the middle, big, right, you know, that was the thing that I had to get right was that pink. So I took a little bitty canvas and I mixed color to find that pink that I wanted. I mixed red and white, and I'd mix a little yellow in it. But I was trying to pick my colors based on the dress. Everything else just had to be subordinate to the dress.
So it was your choice of red to get that.
That was it. Sometimes it's an interesting choice of blue that you need to make. So you do little swatches until you pick the blue, then you make a circle. Yeah. All right, you see me drop that light in there? Okay, but y'all,
We'll do teal.
yeah, it's what I'm gonna say is like, you see how this color is compared to this one? And like, which one looks brighter, you know?
Mhm.
That blows my mind sometimes because if you put it next to dark, for one thing, it makes it look lighter, but also use this word, vibrant, instead of light. Dawn Whitelaw, that's another Dawn Whitelaw. Go vibrant instead of light. I have done that so many times since she taught me that. It's like, y'all take that somebody took the last workshop, where, you know what I'm saying? Did you hear that too?
Yeah.
She'd say, all right, make that vibrant, not light. When I painted like the little girl's lips on that, I did, instead of making that a highlight, she said, no, push that color, make that, and I'm thinking as a little girl that it worked. It wasn't dark red, but
She uses a very limited palette.
she does. Okay, so you'll see me looking at, I'm not as worried about edges. Unless it is obviously sharp. I'm not worried about edges until I have refined my color choices. But yes, you spoke of the color circle. I'm not really calling this one a circle though. At first I was.
The flesh.
The flesh one, but now I have done a flesh tones with the mixing. But it's not quite a circle, so you'll see that. But
Was that painted olive cream?
this one is, this one was. And I don't always do that, but it worked out well on this one, so I was happy with it. Shapes of color. Shapes of color, that's what you paint. You paint shapes of color. What shape is it? What color is it? What value is it? That's what you put down. Then you can paint. If you can pick out shapes of color, you can paint. Shapes of color. Of course, you ask yourself what color is it next to. What it's next to does make a difference. And the value as well. But ultimately, it's shapes of color. Okay, you're gonna see me in here, my hand get out of the way. You'll see me start to break. You see, I've got this broken down into like 3. You see that now? That's how you hold your shapes together. A lot of times the value patterns together is you break it, you go from this one to maybe 3 to maybe 10, and you start just breaking them down like that. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, like from here to here, but you'll see in the end that this will be broken up more than just 4 blocks of color. Okay, I love to see the whole painting develop at the same time instead of one little area. Because then I know that my relationships are right. The more you draw and sketch in a sketchbook, the more you'll realize that you need to have a lot of area to compare your values. Okay, there we go. You see, I am breaking that space up. I'm gonna back it up just a little bit. There we go. See that? It's broken up more now. I'm putting that collar on him. It was a key point of. And that's how it turned out at the end. I think I'll go up there and you can see closer of the color. So you see the different shapes of color. This is a light face. If I would have tried to push that into a light color, it would have broken that shadow side up. Does that make sense? Y'all have any questions on that?
Did you stay predominantly with the big brush?
Possibly, I possibly only used one or two. I don't think I ever got into a small brush unless it was these details, and sometimes I'll just use the tip or the side, the corner or something of those bigger ones. I do have some small brushes and I do use them. Okay, so that's basically the end of that demo there, but I'll have my color circle demo to show you as well.
But you still kept your shapes there.
I have the
Your
shapes.
there, the edges are just a little softer on those shapes.
It's exactly, I have not
You didn't
blended
lose
them
it,
all
no.
together.
Mhm.
But from it, it reads like it's a soft fur dog,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
so you don't have to blend it with a fan brush to make it a soft dog. So it's a, there it is. You see the light and shadow pattern. I think that's it. Let's see. So look at the green, you see the green behind them?
Mhm. Even the pink on the back.
And the
when you
pink.
zoomed in, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right, I had that saran wrap. That's a different angle. You see that glare coming off of that north light. You can see my brush strokes there. You see those? I must have used a filbert. I can see some of those in there. But I'm okay with that. But look at, these are broken up pieces of color. You don't have to fix every little edge if it reads correct. There it is. That's it on there. So, okay, that's the color wheel.
Can I ask about the brushes as well? I know
Yes.
you've got a pack here. What do you typically like to paint with? What size, what type? Bristle, synthetic, what do you like?
I like the ivory synthetics by Rosemary. But I also like treacle brushes for plein air painting. The whole
Why is
hair,
that?
the whole hair bristle brushes.
Yeah.
Because they're more organic, like you can scrub the side of them, and these ivory, you know how you saw I had intention's a good word, intentional shades of color.
Yeah.
Those ivory synthetics allow me to do that. That treacle hawk hair bristle brush is a little more out of my control a little bit, but yet I can draw with it or scumble,
Yeah.
I find that with the bristle brushes, you can't, even with the rosemary synthetic, which I like the ivory too.
Yeah.
But you can't really get, if you're looking to get see actual brush strokes.
Yeah.
You don't see them as well unless you use hog hair.
Oh,
I
really?
don't think.
Okay, okay.
I mean, for people who paint really in pasto, that like, if you
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
James Richardson, if you're back at the booth, get up and look at that
Okay.
brushwork.
Yeah.
It's hard to get without bristle.
Do y'all want to see the color circle?
Yeah. Yeah.
What
After
three
that,
colors are these? Is this ultramarine, alizarin, and lemon?
I have to look at it closely, but it looks like maybe a little bit pinker.
Like a magenta.
Maybe a, would I?
But not for them, for not.
Possibly.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
not
really
pinker,
gonna-
it's pinker than for,
How big of an area is that? I mean,
That is my palette that I paint on all the time. It is about, I'm gonna say maybe 18 by 22-ish.
okay, I just, I can't tell
Yeah.
how large that circle is.
Or
from
maybe,
the Photo,
yeah, 20 by,
okay.
maybe
Decent size.
I don't know.
is it bigger than this?
Yes. Mhm. So, that's how it looks when I'm done, but this is how I lay my paint out.
Wow.
Wow.
So, they're like, everybody says it's a lot. But y'all heard me say this before, I should just let y'all.
What do you have in the middle?
That is,
You use black?
no, I don't. I'll tell you what I normally put in the middle. This looks like, oh, I'd already put some ultramarine there. In the middle of the pile is my black mixture, which is ultramarine and transparent red or brown oxide, either one. So you'll see that, but I'm gonna show you a video of it, of how I mix it. And I'll lay out the paint in the video, so you'll see that, but you'll see the paint being laid out yellow across from yellow, red across from red, and blue across from blue, so it's like a clock. Then I'll mix my secondaries. I'll mix blue and yellow, you can pick any of the secondary, but blue and yellow for green. Skip a space, red and blue, I'll make purple, skip a space, and then I'll mix my orange. So we'll have 3 secondaries. Then I'll pull the edges together to get the neutrals and bring that white into it. You'll see that, I'll show you the video. Started like I did last time. Let's see. Hope I'm not taking too much time at all.
You're fine, yeah.
This is long. By the way, I have a link to this video on my website that it's, I think, $4.99 to purchase. So if you're interested in having this, a link to download. Because the owner of this video has granted you access. Okay. Thank you. Technology.
Oh.
Let's see. I'm gonna do it a different way. Here we go. But yeah, this one, if you want, I guess y'all will have it though. You have to zoom in to watch. But otherwise, it's $4.99. So if y'all want to download the link to have it, I just put blue across from blue. And I'm just giving a demonstration of how, if you do like 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, just like a clock.
Same blues or?
Same blue. So if you chose ultramarine, which I a lot of times do. Now we're gonna put, I was doing this as a demo at a workshop, so that's why it's falls in between. I've got a red to put there and a yellow to put there. And so I was looking at my spacing. So I'm gonna put a red, which is in that case, alizarin. So I've got the blue across from blue. Now I'm gonna do the alizarin, the red, and then a yellow here. So blue, red, yellow, blue, red, yellow. So red will go across from red. So you see the sticker that you have? Red is straight across from red. But now I have left me a place for yellow across from yellow.
You have a sheet of glass on there?
It is, just a glass, and Lowe's or any place like that will cut you. You take your palette to them and they'll cut it for you. Yellow across from yellow. I'm trying to speed it up, I'm sorry.
They still look like they're awfully close to each other.
Yeah.
So you actually expand out. You're going out,
Yes, I will.
okay.
I need to. I have a, I think this faster.
While this is going, what do you think is the biggest benefit of this for your students? To work in this way instead of having like 15 color.
There's so much to learn, drawing, composition, design, values, colors. And a lot of times they'll have trouble mixing color. And it was like me having a trace when I first started painting, because I'd had to get over that hump, be able to, and now I still use this because if, for one thing, if you're doing a quick draw competition, this, you've got your colors already in front of you. You know, you've got to mix out, they're there. You don't have to mix every single color you're going to pick. They're going to be harmonious in the end. So,
And as you mentioned, Susan, if you're trying to go back and match a color, you don't have to remix. You
that's
don't
right,
have to-
they're already there, and there's a lot of paint on your palette when you do this. There's another advantage is you got to use a lot of paint in order to make this. So what I did is I cut half the yellow, pulled it this way, half the blue, and pulled it this way. You mix in the middle, then you kind of walk it over this way to have a yellow green, and walk it over this way to have a blue green. You'll see the colors when I add white to it more clearly.
Is this the normal amount you use?
Yes, it is.
A lot.
Another saying that I have is you have to waste paint. You have to waste paint. If you left with nothing on your palette, you didn't have enough paint. If you're scraping, trying to get that last little bit, that's not enough paint. So if you've wasted paint, then you know that you've had enough on your palette. So don't tell my mom.
This is for one occasion or one setting, but
Say it again, I'm sorry.
this is just for that day or for that.
Just for that
moment.
day, yes. You can put this in the freezer, you know, it'll kind of keep a little bit, for a couple of days, actually. So you see how I cut half of it, mixed in the middle. And then I kind of walk that over so I have a spectrum. But here's what's important. I did not start at one color and go all the way around. You see that? I have a space, and a space there. And y'all can stand up and move around if you want to. So where you can see.
Kind of like you have a value scale almost. Too.
You definitely have a spectrum, you know, so that you don't want to mix it all together in one pile of orange. Then you've gained very little. You want to see what all colors this can make. What I was saying. Trying to is yellow is a quiet color. It when it's mixed with another color is taken over very quickly by that other color. So you have to have more yellow out than you think you're going to need. Really, you need more yellow than you need the other colors because it gets taken up really quickly. It's a vibrant color, but you see I had to put more out because I was trying to get to orange and that red just wanted to be dominant over that yellow, so it's not going to. I still end up with a pretty red, but y'all, this is alizarin, probably with lemon, because it creates a blood red. Okay, so got a spectrum. We're about halfway through this video. Are y'all okay?
We're good. We're good.
Okay. I know I'm taking a lot of your time. So about 7 minutes left and then. Paper towels are important, right? Because you're gonna have to wipe your knife between mixing colors. So I'm gonna pull these together and create the neutrals. So get the edge of that one and the edge of this one. Come on. There we go. And so I'm gonna end up mixing those together. So you think about it, now you've got all your lunch being fixed for us at Dora Lake Workshop in the background. Uh-uh. So, yeah. Your grays, the reason a gray is because it's got all three primaries in it in white. And that's what it does when you pull this together, but you've got different amounts. So you're gonna have three different, what I call grays or neutrals. This is very good for plein air painting too. It's hard to create nature's greens, but if you put some red in it, and you've gone a long way. So this keeps you from mixing just a straight green, because you've got some red in there, and you're gonna see some of those natural colors come out of it. And good burgundies. Let me see the state. Maroons. I'm gonna get kicked out. Yes, you are. I know.
No, you get along real well though with our house.
Oh, my daughter just graduated from Ole Miss, and my son, next year will be going to state, so it's gonna be interesting.
We had to, have our Thanksgiving on Saturday because our daughter-in-law and her mom were attending the Mississippi State game.
Egg bowl. So there's gonna be a peach bowl here. I think Ole Miss is coming too.
Yeah, Penn State's.
In Penn State.
Yeah,
So who are y'all for?
Penn State.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm stalling a little bit because we gotta add some white around the edges here.
Just like, oh, to be over, but this is more here.
Okay, you see that cube of white? Going all the way around the edge.
What
Lots of
white
white.
do you use?
Titanium. I like Utrecht.
Okay.
So I'm gonna take that white, I'm gonna pull it just to the edge of that color circle. So that I don't use up all the white and I don't use up all that pink. Okay, so in between, I'm gonna have, this is gonna be the pure color, this is gonna be pure white, but between is gonna be where I pull just a little of this and a little of this together to see what color I have. This is where it gets fun, because then you can see the bright, pretty colors that you get from the circle. And the neutrals, you can see the neutrals, and aren't those sometimes the hardest things to mix, is the neutrals. Ready? And I love painting with pretty neutral colors. I love neutrals because that's something that you get to paint with subtlety. And that's something that is so important. The more mature of an artist you get, you need to paint more subtly, more subtle color changes. And neutrals, you can do that. I end up pulling these neutrals together, all of these extra, I'll pull them together sometimes and see what color that makes. You can, and I don't completely mix, you see how it's like a marbled looking? I don't completely mix everything together because as you paint, you're still continuously mixing using that color circle. So I think I'll speed the video up here in a second, and there's another little cartoon thing dancing in the middle of it. So we'll see. You'll see what I'm talking about. I've had to edit all my little cartoons out of my video. Oh my goodness. And sometimes you'll do this and then be painting your painting, and it's like that color there. You may have never saw that color in your reference, but then you did the circle and you're like, look at that. There's some of that color in that painting. So that's another. I think this is the point where I speed up the video, where you can see the completion of that going around.
Have you said how you decide which red to use? Did you say that?
Well, I was
Or
talking
which-
about like you get a canvas and mix just a little bit of the red and the white and see what that makes, and maybe put a little yellow and red and see what that makes.
So it's different reds. sometimes.
Right, yeah, well, it depends,
Well-
yeah, I choose the red by doing that.
But
I choose the red by, doing that little
Yes,
study.
okay.
There he is. I had music going, so he would listen to the music. I'll show that to you if you want to, but, or talk to you about that.
well, I mean, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Or if blue is the dominant color in the painting, I'll do that with blue,
Okay.
because that'll be what's important to pick.
Uh-huh.
Now, here's a statement you'll need to know. I can add other colors to this. If I see King's blue that I want to use in addition to this, I can use King's blue. I just put it up in the corner, and if I use it all throughout the painting, it's still harmonious. So you're not limited. This just gives you a head start. You can add to it whatever you want to add to it. But look at all the colors that came from three. Oh, we go. That came from just three tubes of paint. Now here I'm going to mix my black with my ultramarine blue, which is transparent, and my transparent red or brown oxide. Both of those are transparent, and together they make a beautiful dark. I'm going to do a spectrum of that dark, just like I did this other. And guess why? Why would I do a spectrum of the dark from the brown to the blue?
Temperature change.
Yeah. The temperature, the warmth. I'll have a warm dark and I'll have a cool dark. Yeah. Roger, I've got to ask him about this to make sure, but when I took some workshops with Roger Brown, he would always say putting warm dark under those trees that you're seeing, those cast shadows under there. You see a lot of painters putting that as a blue shadow because they're thinking warm sun, cool shadow. Cooler, not cool. A lot of times that ground is bouncing up a lot of warmth into that space, So I mixed I've got the spectrum now of those colors. Okay, so that's it.
Wow.
That is.
I've never seen
it. So, I have talked a lot. I hope I didn't use up a lot of, too much of your time. But I love to teach. I love, since I was little, I've always loved to teach. I mean, I just love it because you get to learn. And when you teach, you get to study, and then you study a lot and you get to learn a lot.
You learn more by teaching than you do
Every
as a
time.
student.
Every time. So thank you for letting me just talk in my little Mississippi voice here and so, yeah.
Well, so now we're gonna get on to the ending fun part. And that I was just gonna say, anybody didn't fill out a slip for the drawings? Yeah.
Jim, did you want to know the first 3 meetings of the new year?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, no meeting in January, remember? February, where's Margaret? There's Margaret. Portrait Society of Atlanta. We're gonna be having a panel discussion on the importance of self-portraits. That'll be February 8th. March 14th. Kathy Anderson is gonna do a demo and talk. And April 11th, Aida from Multimedia Art Board will be here to talk about panels and how they're made and why it's important to know the materials that are in your panels.
Wow, sounds like we're starting off on a good foot.
Yeah.
So I look forward to that.
Maria has almost the entire year
Well,
scheduled now.
it's not all me. Kent has been a wonderful help as well,
Oh, yeah.
and Kathy, so it's a great team.
Did you say someone was gonna be on the panel with portraits?
I'm sorry. Oh, yes. Margaret, who's the Portrait Society of Atlanta?
I'm going there.
Okay, and we're doing a panel discussion about self-portraits. People are gonna talk about anything from how to do a self-portrait to why you do a self-portrait. self-portraits through the ages.
Okay.
And so it's about 5 or 6 people involved, and we'll have some videos and, you know, things to look at, and artwork too to look at, paintings to look at.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sounds good. to me.
Yeah.
Before we get to the drawing part, Janet had brought in some flyers for a West Main Arts Festival in Canton, Georgia. So it is a call for artists. And so if you're interested in that, there's some flyers up here. Please pick one up on the way out.
Okay.
Now to the fun part. Everybody got their names in? You know, everybody put down Jim Gilchrist, right? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna call on Susan to draw. And what would we like to do first? I think Susan needs to draw for her brushes.
How much money? Well, it is, since it's my brushes. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Since it's, I don't want somebody to think that yeah, you did very much.
Okay.
And she, that's.
Think I could be mad if you
Yeah, I'll
did
pick the
that.
others.
I just got one.
Okay, yes.
No.
You pick Sharon. Y'all. Oh, no.
Now,
I don't-
you draw.
All right, but the next one is a gift certificate from gambling.
Deborah Wilson.
Now open that baby up and tell us how much it is.
What we're getting.
Yeah.
I need to put my name again before you draw.
No, no. You've had your chance.
Oh, no.
She's got it there 4 times, so I do.
And for the last door prize.
Sure.
Is a painting by Amanda Lovett. And many of us do know Amanda. She grew up in Cartersville and is kind of a native daughter. And a marvelous artist. And the winner is Pat Stevenson.
Very nice.
Congrats. There you go.
Thank you.
Whole plan of everything. Thank you, everyone. If you did not have a chance to sign in, please sign in on the sheet here. There's a few paintings over here of Susan that you might want to look at that you can buy.
Somebody was just about.
Lost control, Jim.
That's okay. I don't know that it really happened. Especially.